With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
This is Anything But Footy. Where to start? The greatest comeback in sporting history? How did Tiger Woods win his 5th Masters, the 83rd at Augusta National? And wasn't it great that so many people could see it on terrestrial TV? Or does it not matter anymore? Do we just need social media and Twitter? Talking of comebacks, back with a bang and a gold around his neck again, Max Whitlock. He does Great Britain proud at the European Gymnastics. And the new name, and one to watch, also top of the podium, KInsella. We've been genning up on street, park and even vert skateboarding ahead of Tokyo 2020. And can Steve cram it all in? Should he be allowed to? And the Anniversary Games, World Diving Series and the Fed Cup, all coming to the London Olympic Park. It's all to come. I'm a rather breathless John with all the excitement.
And I'm a rather breathless Michael, enjoying free-to-air sport on a Sunday afternoon on terrestrial television. You can get in touch with us on the Olympic and Paralympic podcast, where we focus on sport which doesn't involve transfer, tittle-tattle, and the managerial merry-go-round. We won't be discussing VAR and weekly wage packets. Instead, it's gymnastics, skateboarding, hockey, golf, athletics, diving, gaming, and much, much more. Anything But F on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. You can also email us, anythingbutfooty@gmail.com. And do me a favour this week, please. British Podcast Awards are coming very soon. So go to BritishPodcastAwards.com. There is a Listener's Choice Award there, and you can vote for Anything But Footy as your favourite go-to podcast.
Absolutely. We talk Olympic and Paralympic sports. We're openly biased, and all week we've been planning to kick off with gymnastics because it has been the European Championships. But I'm sorry, Max and the team, you did us proud. But with golf and Olympic sport returning, of course, to Rio for the first time in 100 years, a couple of years ago, we have to start there for this edition of Anything But Footy. And Tiger Woods. So, 15 majors, 5 Masters. He won, of course, the 83rd Master at Augusta National by a shot. 22 years since his first major tournament success. 14 years since his last one. And 11 years since his last major. I mean, this is an incredible story and a comeback in sporting terms that I just really can't think about. From my generation, Michael, Tiger Woods is a year older than us. He has been one of the greatest sportsmen around, arguably one of the greatest. But from everything that went wrong from 2009 to 2017, car crashes, divorces, arrests, drink, drugs, unbelievable. And there he was, putting on the final hole, the 18th hole, just a few foot to win. He bogeyed the last, but he won that tournament, his 5th Masters. And I hate about American golf all the screaming and the yelping and the go Team USA, but the noise at the National with Tiger Woods and the pictures of him hugging his son, his daughter, his mum, unforgettable scenes for me.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable scenes there on the 18th green, and great that we got to watch it, as I said, on terrestrial TV. I've not seen a sporting comeback like that for, well, maybe my entire life. I've been struggling to think of one quite as good as Tiger Woods. I think all the other things that you mentioned, we must take into account. We can't ignore that. But on Anything But Footy, we do like to talk about sporting prowess. So let's concentrate first and foremost on the sporting prowess. And, well, he was always in the hunt, wasn't he, right over the last 4 days. And actually, although it was pretty exciting with the likes of Francesco Molinari and others giving it a go on the final day, I actually think at all points, and I watched quite a lot of the golf over the last 4 days, he just seemed in control. He seemed back in that groove. Now, back in the day, he seemed to have this entitlement, didn't he, Tiger Woods, that he was going to win. It seems now that he's playing for enjoyment more. And I wonder whether that has just been the reason why we've seen this magnificent turnaround. But let's talk about that point as well. Only 2 days. You have 16 days of major golf in the calendar year and only 2 days available on terrestrial TV. Sky have the rights to all 5 of the women's major tournaments, all 4 of the men's major tournaments now. They've got the PGA back after it spent a year with 11 sports, and previously the BBC showed that. Sky show 100 tournaments in total. But we saw that triumph by Tiger Woods. We saw those 2 days, the final 2 rounds, on BBC television. And that will inspire children in these Easter school holidays to probably go out and swing a golf club tomorrow. I remember growing up watching the likes of Sandy Lyle, watching Jean van der Velde at the British Open, the Open Championship, which was on the BBC between 1955 and 2015. That, for me, was 4 days in my summer that I wanted to sit and watch the golf. We don't get that option anymore. And I just wonder the impact of Tiger Woods' victory today, both in terms of golf in this country, golf in America, golf around the world, because he is such a recognisable figure. I think it will have a tremendous impact in just maybe picking up those numbers which have been dramatically declining of people playing the sport.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I remember watching Sandy Lyle and Ian Woosnam, win those green jackets, of course, and and as you rightly say, on terrestrial television, it makes such a difference because, we talked about it in a previous edition of Anything But Footy. 10 million people watched the Grand National this year. And, you forget the power of terrestrial TV. Now, you are absolutely right, Michael. Sky have pumped a lot of cash into golf. They have their own Sky Sports Golf channel, and they want people to sign up and watch it week in, week out. But I just wonder whether this is a clever way of how we move kind of major sports broadcasting forward in this country. Because, Sky do it with Formula One, where they allow Channel 4 a few of the big races to show as well, to keep that, as you say, interest going and maybe some young people getting into it who might not see it on a weekly basis on Sky. And also, with this golf, the fact that for 2 days... And it was the most important 2 days, the last 2 days. But actually, if you're a golf fan, you'll go and find it on a Thursday and Friday elsewhere. But actually make it open for everybody else. And you just wonder, are other sports looking to maybe do this in the future? Is this a way that they can reach out to an audience and not just attract the fans, but also the wider audience? And one of the reasons why we do this podcast, Michael, is to reach out to everybody who's interested in Olympic and Paralympic sport and doesn't know that it's happening week in, week out, because you just don't get the coverage. And even with these big sporting events, maybe that's what they need to think about going forward. And it's interesting with the Olympics, because right now in this country, Discovery, the massive media company from America, or Eurosport, they own Eurosport in this country, and the likes of Quest on the TV channels as well, that they have the Olympic rights for this country moving forward. And you just wonder, which means the BBC will be able to show less Olympic sport as the next few Olympics come through, and they'll have to be a bit more picky and choosy. But there will be, the chance to see it on the satellite as well, and see it in all its glory. But, should more sports, rather than putting all their eggs in one basket, like the Cricket World Cup this year is taking place in this country, and frankly nobody knows it's going on apart from your cricket fans, and even when it's going on, it won't be on terrestrial TV. Should they, rather than put all their eggs in one basket, should they reach out to try and get new fans rather than just the fans they've got?
Yeah, the point you make about the Olympics is excellent because I don't think we'll ever see a repeat of London 2012 where we got streams of every session in every sport and we were able to watch that all courtesy of the BBC. You look at those big medal moments at recent Olympic Games, the medal moments that brought a nation together, the huge viewing figures that you got on Super Saturday, for example. Why did we have those? Why did people sit down and watch a linear TV broadcast? Because it was available on BBC One. You look at England reaching the World Cup semi-finals under Gareth Southgate last year, huge terrestrial TV audiences. Would the 2003 Rugby World Cup triumph be so ingrained in all of us? Would we all know exactly how Johnny Wilkinson kicked that rugby ball over those posts down under if we hadn't seen it on ITV on that Saturday morning? And you look back, to the 80s, and I know I'm going to sound a little bit like an old man talking about a bygone age here, but people like Barry McGuigan, Frank Bruno, they were instantly recognisable boxers, and that's because they were fighting on BBC One or on ITV on a Saturday night to huge terrestrial TV audiences. You stick all those people now behind the pay-per-view, the box office button, and I was with a world boxing champion yesterday at Ellen Road in Josh Warrington, but Josh Warrington, great guy, fantastic boxer, he's going to look to try and defend that world title later on this summer. Drew a huge local audience because he's a Leeds boxer to Ellen Road for his first world title fight, but he can pretty much walk down the street in most of the country completely unbothered. Frank Bruno couldn't do that. Barry McGuigan couldn't do that, and the reason why is because 10, 15 million were watching them in their heyday.
We're going to talk more TV to come on Anything But Footy, but quickly on Tiger Woods. Is he the greatest sportsman now of all time? Roger Federer, I think, probably up there for our generation. If you ask my father, Muhammad Ali is still the greatest. But could this propel Tiger Woods back to that, or is golf slightly different because you can play it when you're a bit older?
I just think, and going back to the off-the-course problems that he had, I think that will always cloud some people's judgment. You look at someone like Roger Federer, he seems to have led a perfect life. Now, we love our sporting heroes that, have these little failures. We love the likes of Alex Higgins. We love the likes of George Best. These non-perfect sportsmen, these genius that kind of just trod that line between, kind of just going off the rails and just staying there or thereabouts in elite sport. You look at someone like Roger Federer, you look at other people like Steve Redgrave or whatever, they've never had the scandal, have they, in their life that, Tiger Woods had. And I just think that people will always throw that at him, if you like. But in terms of sheer sporting glory, he's got to be there or thereabouts with, the likes of Jack Nicklaus, with the likes of Muhammad Ali, with the likes of, other fantastic sportsmen that we've seen both on an Olympic, a Paralympic and a world stage over the past few years.
Well, you mentioned Olympic. He's still got to do one thing. He's got to get an Olympic gold medal. And maybe time is right for Tokyo. Come on, Tiger. Come over to Tokyo. Get that gold medal round your neck, along with all of your major slams and the Ryder Cup, of course. That he hasn't had a great Ryder Cup record, but he has won it a couple of times. So, more TV talk to come. But onto the gymnastics. The European Championships in Poland have been taking place, and another brilliant performance from British gymnastics. One of the big hopes, of course, for medals at Tokyo 2020, and 2 golds, a silver and a bronze for British gymnastics. 9 finals for the men, 6 finals for the women, and some amazing performances, Michael.
Yeah, but was it fun? Did you watch much of the European Championships in Poland? It was a great performance. We're seeing new stars. Well,
it was fun for
like
Max Whitlock.
Yeah, I'm just saying you saw new stars like KInsella come through, winning her gold on the balance beam. She's won a gold at the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast. She's 18 years of age. Fantastic sort of strength in depth as far as women's gymnastics is in this country, and a fantastic record of converting the number of athletes that go to an Olympic Games into medals. We've spoken about that before. But when you watch Barry Hearn's Superstars of Gymnastics, which was on recently at the O2, Max Whitlock was there, Simone Biles was there, 8,000 people. You saw flossing on the parallel bars. You saw a floor routine with the funky chicken. There was golden buzzers for gymnastics. Were the European Championships fun like the Superstars of Gymnastics was fun?
I tell you what, winning gold medals is fun week in, week out. And look, Max Whitlock back on top of the podium. You know, he had a year of silvers last year. You saw him at the Commonwealth Games at the Gold Coast, and he missed out on the pommel horse after winning it in Rio, of course. And it shows that this is a comeback. He hasn't been overtaken. And, in the final, he was top ranking in qualification, 15.033, which is a great score. But he upped that difficulty level, and it proved a masterclass. 15.533 points, his second European pommel gold medal. And he admitted afterwards, of course, he's a new dad, wife and baby Willow, of course, watching at home as well. And he said, look, the build-up has been a big learning curve for me. There's lots of pressure and expectation put on me, which I've had to learn to cope with. This gives me a huge confidence boost. And with the likes of Bryn Bevan, who reached the pommel and parallel bells final, Joe Fraser and James Hall in the all-round final, Courtney Tulloch in the rings and the vault final, and James Hall also in the high bar. Unfortunately, he fell and is having his injury assessed. And a quick word on Dom Cunningham, who fell awkwardly in the vault as well after reaching the floor final, so he couldn't compete in the weekend and is having scans when he returns on his right leg back in this country. They will have great fun competing together, winning medals for Great Britain, winning it for themselves. And you mentioned as well Alice Kinsella. I mean, I watched her in action, and she's 18 years of age. She does a backflip onto the beam, Michael. I mean,
is that fun?
Yes, it's 10 centimetres wide. That's 4 inches in old money. I mean, this is a ridiculous achievement. She's the first British gymnast to win European gold in the beam. Such a historic, such a iconic bit of apparatus. And she's 18 years of old. And what I loved about her, and this is what's fun, Michael, as well, is she was virtually in tears after the all-round.
Oh, you like to see people crying. That's John's idea of fun.
No, but what I like to see is comebacks and people like Tiger Woods, like Max Whitlock, who've got something to prove. And Alice Kinsella, in not in the same way, but she came back and she won this medal, and she went first, and she had to watch everybody else perform in front of her. Absolutely amazing. So look, you can keep your flossing. I'm just into the
funky chicken.
You can definitely keep the funky chicken. I mean, what a performance from the British gymnasts in Poland, and well done to all of them. They absolutely achieved brilliantly. And just a quick word on Ellie Downey, who won a silver and a bronze as well. 19 years of age. 2 ankle operations. She was the reigning champion in the all-round. She was pipped to gold by a French woman called Menely dos Jesus dos Santos. Her name was longer than some of her performances, but absolutely well done to her, but well done to Ellie Downing. A silver in the all-round and then a bronze in the vault final as well. It was quite a weekend.
And the return of Claudia Fragapane, of course, who won 4 medals at the Commonwealth Games in 2014. So we are maybe picking out some names to watch there for Tokyo 2020, Alice Kinsella being one of those. In another sport, skateboarding, we might have a 11, 12-year-old Sky Brown there. 10-year-old Sky Brown won gold at the UK Championships in Salford in the sport of skateboarding this weekend. She's aiming to become Great Britain's youngest ever Olympian in 2020. 140 skateboarders were all aiming to get points to qualify for Tokyo. They all took part. Sky Brown and 3 others are on what is called the GB Aspirational Squad. There was competition finals in Park and Street, and Sky Brown was one of those champions. She will now return to her base in the US before coming back to compete in the National Surfing Championships, which take place in Cornwall in May. She says she wishes she could have done better. And for me, John, that is the mark of a true champion, because you look at someone like Paralympian Hannah Cockcroft, 5-time Paralympic gold medalist in London and Rio. And whenever I've interviewed her after any medal she's ever won, she's never happy. And that, I think, is what drives her on to greater and bigger success. And Sky Brown, despite becoming British champion at the age of 10, was not happy.
No, indeed she wasn't. And this was the first UK Skateboard Championships in Salford. And we had to get our understanding about what a street final was for the men and women and a park final. So the street final, and this is something for Tokyo, because this is where, you're going to see this in action on the telly, on terrestrial telly, as we've been mentioning. The street final is any kind of flat terrain. It's usually mixed in with handrails and stairs. Yes, skateboarding down handrails. Quite incredible. And then a park final is a mix of street and vert skateboarding, and vert is short for vertical. So
Thanks.
all on the large ramps that you see in some parks around the country as well. So boarding is here to stay. It's in the Tokyo Olympics 2020, and as you say, well done to Sky Brown, the 10-year-old looking to become the Britain's youngest ever Olympian, and maybe across 2 sports. Now, we've discussed on Anything But Footy the vacuum at the top of British sport. Still plenty of gaps if anyone wants to give Michael or myself a call. However, Steve Cram apparently has put himself forward as chairman of UK Athletics, or UKA, or British Athletics team, basically, to you and me. The former mile world record holder is among the leading candidates to replace Richard Bowker. Now, he's the lead commentator, of course, at the BBC. We've talked a lot about them today. Not the CEO, so it's more of an overseeing role as the chairman. So what's the problem, Michael? Why can't Steve Cram do this?
Well, I've said this for a long time. I think there is a closeness, and it's too close, between some of the broadcasts of some of our sports and some of the experts that we see on television. And now Steve Cram is the lead voice in this country on the sport of track and field, the lead voice on athletics. He is the senior broadcaster of that team. Now, if that British athletics team, who are very well funded and will take vast numbers, go to Tokyo, and they fail to hit their medal targets, are we going to see ourselves in a position where Steve Cram will need to criticise the body that he is in charge of? You know, I have to say that Steve Cram has various other roles other than being a BBC commentator, and I watch a lot of athletics, and I watch a lot of athletics on BBC television because they have the lion's share of the rights. Now, I've never noticed before Steve Cram showing any kind of bias towards people like Laura Waitman that he trains. He's also an advisor to the endurance programme of British Athletics. He has been a chair of the English Institute of Sport, and I've always thought that he's trodden that path pretty well, to be honest, between you know, the inclusion that he has in the sport and the closeness that he has in the sport, but also then, of course, being removed enough that he has to then, as a broadcaster, be a journalist over it. I have felt that some of the athletics coverage on television has been a little bit cheerleading at times. You know, I can remember being in Birmingham when there was, you know, a lot of stories in newspapers around Mo Farah, and he decided not to compete, and it was kind of brushed over because the people in the commentary box, the analysers that are paid to talk about him, were probably too close to the athlete and too close to the programme. That's why I think we enjoy hearing the views of people like Michael Johnson, Daley Thompson, Tony Minicello, because essentially they're outsiders to the programme. Therefore, they probably can be more honest. If Steve Cram is the lead voice of athletics in this country and also then the chair of British Athletics, I think it is 2 roles that he will find very, very difficult to marry up.
Yeah, I mean, Seb Coe obviously ran London 2012. He's now in charge of the IAAF, the the World Governing Body of Athletics. Now, he opts to be interviewed, but he doesn't commentate, does he? You know, he doesn't influence what has a say on his performance. He's asked questions and he answers them. He doesn't comment on it. So I suppose that's the question: is when can someone be a commentator, or when can someone just have a comment? And I think it's interesting. We were talking about gymnastics, and I noticed this afternoon, Michael in particular. Alice Kinsella, her coach is Christine Still, who's the commentator, who is the BBC commentator. So after a performance on the floor, she said, "What a great routine. It was very clean. I'm absolutely thrilled." Now, I don't know whether she's talking about her as her coach, or is she talking about her as in, this is a performance I've watched, I've judged it against everybody else, and as a commentator, I think she did great. I'm really thrilled for her, and it was a clean routine. And I struggle with that. I think you have to be really open, and actually what they should have done is someone else should have commentated on her, and at the end said, "Christine, you coach Alice, what did you think of that?" And then that is a comment rather than commentating. There is an issue, and I think someone needs to look at that ahead of, as we go into another Olympic year of 2020. Right, let's run. Go on, Michael, go on.
I was just going to say, I'll just take you back very briefly to London 2012, and obviously Team GB House was there, obviously, just on the edge of the park. And what I noticed when I was into Team GB House every day was that people that were commentating on the radio and the television at various events were then in as part of the setup later on in the afternoon. And I just found that at the time a little bit disturbing. Maybe that's, overstating a little bit. But exactly what you say there. Christine Still, the commentator, Christine Still, the coach. She obviously has something to add. She has some input. She should be quoted about her gymnast who's just in there, but should she be the commentator? Should she be leading that broadcast? I'm not sure.
Let's run through some other news quickly. We bring you all the details, Olympic and Paralympic, every week, anything but footy. The London Olympic Park, we talked about in a previous edition, 5 years it's been open to the public now. 27 million people have been through it, and they're staging some of the big sport in the coming weeks. Olympic champion Jack Law and world champion Tom Daley will headline the Great Britain team when they contest the final of the final leg of the 2019 FINA Diving World Series. It's at the Aquatic Centre, May the 17th to the 19th. And then Dina Asher-Smith will be joined by a trio of Olympic and world sprint medalists at the Muller Anniversary Games at the London Olympic Stadium, July 20th and 21st. And Great Britain have named an unchanged team for their Fed Cup World Group 2 playoff against Kazakhstan, which begins on April 20th. We're talking tennis here. British number 1 Johanna Konta joined by Katie Boulter, Heather Watson, Harriet Dart and Katie Swan, and the London Copperbox Arena staging this for the first time. If we win, we return to World Group 2 for the first time since 1993. And huge running events have been taking place right across the week. Michael, you've been at one as well today as well.
Yeah, it's been a huge weekend. There's been the big Brighton Marathon Festival across the weekend. I know lots of people that have been taking part in the Sheffield Half. And I was in Stockton-on-Tees today, down by the riverside there, for the duathlon that was taking place. Over 700 participants, the 7th year of the Stockton-on-Tees duathlon. So I think you can pretty much put that down as a 2012 legacy event. And I think for a town like Stockton-on-Tees, it's a town punching above its weight as far as sport is concerned. They've got a big 2-day cycling festival coming up later on in the summer. They previously hosted the British Road Race Cycling Championships. And the big one, the big coup that they've got is the City Games are relocating from the quayside in Newcastle to the riverside in Stockton in September. This is the event that always coincides, if you like, with the Great North Run. It was the event where Greg Rutherford retired last year after his final jump. And Stockton-on-Tees has bid and won it this year. So that's going to be fantastic. It's going to be live on the television. And as I said, for a town like Stockton-on-Tees, really punching above its weight as far as bringing major sporting events. Great organisation today, the council and the organisers of the duathlon. I thought they put on a fantastic event today. I spoke to dozens of people afterwards and everyone thoroughly enjoyed it. And we've said this before, but I just look back at 2012 and look at these mass participation events, whether it's a duathlon today, a triathlon, whether it's a 10K run, and I just see numbers building and building for these events.
One more bit for us. 500 days to go before the Paralympic Games, Tokyo 2020, and the IPC has announced the creation of its first official video game with the aim of boosting the popularity of Paralympic sports and reaching out to the youth market. It's all about youth, all the time, all about youth. We've talked boarding, we've talked bouldering in the last few weeks. The Pegasus Dream Tour is a completely new sports role-playing game where players participate in a virtual Paralympic Games that takes place inside a fantasy metropolis known as Pegasus City. Michael, I struggle with Daley Thompson's decathlon. I'll have a go at Pegasus City, but, I struggled with Daley.
I'm just wondering, with gaming aiming to be included in a future Olympic Games, are we going to see a Paralympian winning a Paralympic gold medal playing the Paralympic video game? Or is that just one step too many? A couple of other just final bits of business. 20 years of age, Emma Wilson has won a bronze medal. Congratulations to her at the Windsurfing European Championships in Mallorca. And bringing an end to a fantastic international hockey career, Yorkshire's Barry Middleton, the most capped player in Great Britain and England hockey history. 432 caps, 119 goals over 16 years. He's been to 4 Olympics, 4 Commonwealth Games, 4 World Cups, 8 European Championships, 4th at London 2012. He's on an extended break at the moment, but he has stepped down, the Great Britain and England hockey captain from international hockey. We wish Barry Middleton well.
We certainly do. Get in touch anytime at Anything But F on Twitter, Facebook, Insta, iTunes, Spotify, your usual podcast provider. Please like us, rate us, share us, download it. And also, as Michael said as well, those British Podcast Awards, Listener's Choice. You need to put Anything But Footy. It's been all about comebacks. We'll come back next week.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom? Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.